Can you all hear me? If you can, just kind of give me a wave or something. All right, very good. Well, it's 7 o'clock and we're going to conduct this town hall for an hour or so. I have, everybody is on mute, and if you want to ask a question, okay, there is, don't we have a raise hand thing here?
Yes.
There's a raise hand function that you click on, and then we'll go in order, okay, of the raised hands that come up. You can raise your hand at any time, okay, but I will be like going through the survey one question at a time. If we see any hands up after I explain that survey question, we'll take those as we go along, okay? But we'll get back to everybody, I'm sure. I would like you to keep your comments to about 3 minutes. Again, there's a staffer here that's trying to keep track of that as best as we can. And the reason for that is just so everybody gets a chance to say something, ask me their questions, and that, one person doesn't take over the whole meeting, because it's my meeting and I'm supposed to take over the whole meeting. Anyway, that was a joke and not anybody laughed. Come on. Come on, it was a beautiful day today, a beautiful day. Again, good evening. I'm really happy to see so many people. Oh my God, that's my brother David, right in the middle of the screen. Hi, David. Anyway, nice of you to stop in. The reason for this, I do this every year. Unfortunately, this year we're doing it by Zoom. This is not the way I like doing it. I'd much rather be with you and talking to you face to face. But this is better than not having it at all. And it gives the community an opportunity to ask questions, see me face to face as best we can, and still stay safe. What I usually do is give a little overrun of the budget. And this is going to be very short this year because it's that kind of year. We're starting off at least $16 billion in deficit. And that's because obviously of COVID and the amounts of money that had to be spent because of the pandemic. Having said that, we are looking at the federal government right now and the possibility, and we're very hopeful, that the federal government will come through with aid to states and localities, our local municipalities. If that does happen, then obviously that $16 billion is going to be much smaller or maybe none at all. The problem with trying to do a budget when you are facing something like that is it's hard to do a budget if you don't know how much money you have to spend. So that's what's happening at the moment. We are going through the governor's budget. We just completed that this week, piece by piece. People have chimed in on the things they like and don't like. On Sunday, the Senate, the Assembly, and the governor are supposed to agree on, in quotes, what they feel the revenues are going to be for the coming year. Failing to agree, then the comptroller of the state of New York, Tom DiNapoli, will determine that number, and we'll go off of that, and that's what we have to work with. Next week, we will start talking about what our one house budget is, the budget that the Assembly feels should be passed. The Senate will be doing the same thing. They never totally coincide. So what happens after that is we have conference committees, which means senators and assemblymen get together to talk over what the differences are, to come up with one budget that both houses can pass that's identical. Because when we send something to the governor, it has to be identical. Every I dotted and T crossed in the same way. So we hope to do that during the month of March and to get something in front of the governor by April 1st. And we've been pretty good about it over the last 10 years or so. So that's been a good thing. And I hope we continue that, because if we don't, municipal government, school districts, non-for-profits, they can't budget either until we finish and figure out how much money each of those entities is going to get. So that's where we are in a nutshell as far as the budget is concerned and the process. There are some other things, some other issues that are coming up in conjunction with the budget. We picked a few, not everything, not at all everything. And you got to remember also, we picked these probably a month or so ago to get printed and everything else. So we picked some issues that we thought were things that I would like to hear your opinion on. So I'm going to go right into the, are you going to show this?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is I've got the paper one, but hopefully you're going to be able to see these slides as we go along. This is the basically the survey, and I'll give you the results that we have to date, okay? There will be more survey results coming in. This is our first town hall meeting, so we keep taking responses for another couple of weeks, okay? All right, let's do the first slide if we can, okay? Not happening? Okay. I don't see it. Okay. We're trying, folks. Give us a second here. There you go. It is up. Okay, and it's off to this. Okay, can you get the first sheet on the big page? How do you do that? Okay. So they're going to have to read that little stuff on the side?
No, it should go bigger.
It's not moving. All right, we've been having, I've got to give Diana a little leeway here. We've been having computer problems all day long with our computer system here in the state office building. So bear with me. I'm going to read them to you. I would assume that most of you, if not all of you, took the survey and have seen what I'm talking about. I'm just going to be reading the questions that were on the survey and then giving you the results so we can discuss them. Okay. So the first question is, New York State currently faces about a $15 billion deficit in the 2021 state budget. A, do you support increasing taxes on millionaires' income? Okay. Okay. Overall, we had 72% of the people that answered said yes, and 26% said no. Van Buren, Geddes, and the city were all basically in that range, between 67% and 76%. So it was all over 2/3 were in favor of taxing millionaires' income. We also break it down in terms of age of the people who respond. And again, it was all in the 70% from the people that we heard back from. The second question under here, B, was, do you support taxing the rich on their wealth? That is, increases in property value of their possessions, increases of value in stocks, bonds, real estate, artwork, collectibles, as well as on their income. And again, in general, 52% said yes, but this time 46% said no. And that obviously became a little bit closer. The two towns were slightly no's, and Syracuse was slightly a yes. So overall, though, it came out to 52%, 46%. Okay. Are you getting, I'm seeing some hands go up. Okay. Mary Frances, are you first? Go right ahead. You got to unmute yourself. Or you got to just unmute them.
Okay. Thank
right.
you for holding this yet again this year.
Sure.
Just real quick on B.
Yeah.
Taxing the rich. What is the income level for someone to be considered rich?
Well, you know, the
I
way
don't follow that, so I'm just asking.
you know what? It's a moving target, Mary Frances. I'm not kidding. Initially, when we started to talk about this 2 years ago, at least, we were talking about multi-millionaires. Well, hold it. First of all, you're talking about A or B? This is income tax or wealth?
The B, supporting tax on the value, the property value of possessions, stocks, bonds.
Yeah,
B.
it's billionaires with a B.
Okay.
B is billionaires. The problem that I see with that is that billionaires pay a significant percentage of all of our income tax in New York State. And as soon as you start saying, and what this is saying is that we'll take a snapshot in time, December 31st of every year, and we'll figure out how much they're worth. And if it went up, we'll tax the amount that it went up, okay? I don't see, my concern on that, I'll give you my concern, is that they just won't stay here. Why put up with it? Now, if that happens, I lose their income tax too.
Mm-hmm.
And that puts us in terrible shape. So, because all of these people that we're talking about, if you're talking about a billionaire, they're not going to move. They've already moved. They have multiple homes. They're in different places. It's not like they, like you or me, have to sell their house and move somewhere else. They're already there. And instead of staying a majority of the time in New York City, they're going to spend one day over half a year someplace else. That's all. And they're going to change their residency, and that's the end of it. And they're gone. And I've seen more and more people doing that aren't billionaires or millionaires. I mean, people unfortunately are leaving. And I think this idea of just taxing people who have wealth is good in some respects and then bad in others. Okay, so I hope I answered your question, Mary Frances.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, now I don't know your name, but it says Chromebook. Who's Chromebook?
Me, Adam.
Adam. Okay, give me your question.
Thank you for having this meeting today. My concern is with question B.
Yes.
It's gonna make people move out of New York State and I'm taxing them on the old coins and stuff, because I have collected old coins. It's my concern is like on the wealth and like variables. They're just gonna move out of New York State and stuff.
Okay.
Do you support like having everyone pay the fair share of taxes? I do.
Yes, I do feel that everybody should pay their fair share of taxes. I don't think I would tax it on their wealth, like on collectibles or on artwork or on things like that. I think it should be taxed on the income, and that it should be a graduated tax. I think we should put a surcharge on those that are making $1 million a year or more in income. You know, a surcharge on them during this pandemic period, especially, even if there's a cutoff date to that increase, that surcharge, I think that's warranted. But this kind of a tax, personally, it's my opinion that I think we're going a little too far. But again, people can disagree with me. Okay.
That's all right.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Going on, C, under the tax question is, do you support a stock transfer tax? And what that is every time you sell a stock or anybody sells a stock, the seller would have to pay a tax. The tax is small. I think it's 0.5%, or is it a 5 cents every $20 or something like that?
That's about $20.
Yeah, or above $20 if the stock is worth more than $20. So this was an old tax that was there up until like the 1980s, and it sorry about that. We're having technical problems here. Okay. The stock transfer tax is a tax on the sale of stock. Doesn't matter who sells it, it would be a tax. It's been around since the early the tax itself has been around since the 1980s. It's on the books now. But what happens now is they credit back the tax to the people, basically the people who sold. So it wipes it out. There's no tax. And this all came about because the tax originally was supposed to be for a number of particular purposes that weren't necessary anymore at that point in time. Now, because of the things that have to be funded and how we're going, how, especially with the pandemic, how our deficit has grown. Okay, can you still hear me, folks? Can you hear me? Okay. There's people want to bring back this tax. All right. So let me just tell you what the results were. All right. On this one, it was almost the 2-to-1 against the tax. There was 50%, 57% said no, 38% said yes. And let's see, Van Buren and Geddes were both more no's, and so was the city of Syracuse. The only demographic that we saw was that people who were under 35, they thought it was a good tax. And that kind of stands to reason, because I'm sure that people over 35 are the people who own the stock. So, that makes sense to me, at least the way it came out. But there's not much of a push from my district to pass this tax. I'm going to tell you, though, there is a big push in Albany to do it. It could raise billions of dollars a year. Again, I just want you to know that my concern is that the industry that we are noted for, or industries that New York State is noted for now, are banking and stocks, financial transactions, okay? Banking, finance, insurance. Those are our industries. If we do something to hurt that industry to the point where it leaves, again, just like individuals can pick up and leave, you don't need a stock exchange anymore to do a stock transaction. It's all done on computers. And so you can put the computer in South Dakota. As a matter of fact, maybe about 20 years ago, when New York State was taxing banks on credit card transactions, they upped and took the credit card transactions and put them in South Dakota. So, I mean, if that doesn't tell you things can move, they can. And I'm not just worried about the stock market itself. I'm worried about all the ancillary back office jobs, thousands of jobs, especially in New York City, that, in the brokerage houses, in the banks, we're setting up, again, a system where we're telling people, we don't want you here, or we're going to tax you. If you're here, we're going to tax you more than any place else. That's troubling to me, and I'm concerned about it, very concerned about it. So I tend to agree with my constituents on this one, okay? Then finally, and I think we've already talked about this, are you worried that any of the above taxes may drive the wealthy to leave New York State, thereby reducing state revenue. 47% of the constituents that returned the survey said yes, they were concerned about that. 51% said no at this point in time. So to me, that's pretty much an even split. All I can say is I'm concerned. I am concerned. You know, we never thought that General Motors was going to leave Michigan. It hasn't, but many of the jobs did. They can keep a company in place, but move all the jobs somewhere else. And that's what I'm concerned about. And as these wealthy people or companies leave the state, that leaves, this is where the wealth is and where our taxes have come from. Our taxes come from downstate, not from upstate. Our taxes that, you know, the things that we fund are funded primarily from monies from downstate. And it's not just downstate, it's Manhattan. Excuse me. Because that's where the wealth is. It's not just the wealth of the state, it's the wealth of the country, it's the wealth of the world in that place. And that's where we make our money. And we're doing things that are really taking a slap at that industry. Or at least we're proposing to do it. So that's where I am. Any questions on that? I want people to know. Steve McMahon, go ahead. Where's Steve? He's unmuted. Go ahead, Steve.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thanks for doing this.
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Yeah, well, I'm secretive that way.
Okay.
I appreciate you holding the town hall tonight. The question on that, you know, I know a lot of folks in my age bracket who've done exactly that. They've exited the state. In some cases, they're still collecting New York State pensions, which are untaxed by New York State. And they live 6 months in Florida, Texas, where there's no state income tax. They still maintain a residence here. And other than property tax, they pay no tax. And so why is there this artificial distinction that if you spend, 6 months and 1 day in Florida, you pay no income tax? If you spend 5 months and 29 days in New York, no income tax. Is there a way to adjust that distinction so that people can't game the system, reap all the benefits of living in upstate New York, which is a beautiful place to live, maintain a residence here, but pay no income tax? So I don't think you can stop people from fleeing, but can you stop them from gaming the system by creating a more restrictive criteria about what constitutes in-state residence and what constitutes out-of-state residence?
Well, I think this is just the law. I mean, how do you establish your residency? And, you have to, you do it by how long, do you have a residence? Do you have an address, someplace that you are? Okay, first of all. Number two, where's your driver's license? Number three, where do you pay taxes? Where do you file your federal income taxes? All of those things together, and where do you vote, which is another big thing, okay? If all of those things point to Florida, I got a Florida license, I vote in Florida, I have a residence in Florida, which I stay over half a year there. And what was the other one I mentioned? I don't know, I thought I had 4. But anyway, all of these things taken together determine where you are a resident. And we can only tax our residents. I can't lay a tax on Florida residents. People who live 100% of the time in Florida, I can't tax them. So the bottom line is, if you're a resident of another state and you can establish that, then we can't tax them. That's just the law, okay? And so there's no way I can tighten that up, or we can look into it and make sure that people aren't gaming the system, meaning they're living here more than half a year, and they're not telling the truth. That's gaming the system. But if they actually are voting, driver's license, residence in another state, then there's nothing we can do about that. I hope I answered your question. Who is it? Neil? you're
Yeah,
next.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I kind of agree with you that tax on the stocks could be a bad thing in the overall scheme of things, although it does generate some revenue. But
A lot.
there's I don't really like what I'm about to tell you because I really am not a proponent of this, but the amount of money that it could bring in just is mind-boggling from what I see. Is
Mhm.
if the state needed revenue, why doesn't it legalize marijuana? The other states that have done it are breaking in money like crazy. Now, I really don't want to promote that, but the obvious amount of money that comes in from that is just mind-boggling.
Well, to be honest, Neil, the things that we're looking at, that's one of the smallest revenue makers, marijuana. One of the smallest, and that's hundreds of millions of dollars, okay, a
Yeah, to me,
year.
that's late. That's like,
A hundred, well, not immediately, but within a few years, it would be $400-500 million a year. That's what that's what the proponents are saying anyway. I have a lot of problems with the marijuana bill. I really do, but we're going to talk about that later on in the survey.
okay.
But I understand that. The stock transfer tax, though, I mean, anywhere between, I think it was something like $8 and $16 billion a year. I mean, that's a game changer. I don't know if I got the low number right, but I'm pretty sure about the high number. I think it's up to like 16 billion could be taken in as revenue. And I'm telling you, even though I'm very concerned about that bill, I'm not saying that that's not going to pass this year. I'm not, because there's a lot of people pushing for it with all of the things that need to be funded going forward. So, and you know, and it just may happen. I'm here to give you information, okay? And to let you think about it. And look, if you wake up tomorrow morning and say, boy, I wish I had told Magnarelli, boom, 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 do it. Call my office, my staff is here. If I don't get you, they'll take it down and we'll get back to you. So I don't want you to think that you got to come up with every question right now either, okay? All right, number 2. Oh, I'm sorry, Judy, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Just had one. I don't think it's really a question, just something that I would ask you to take into consideration maybe when you go back and speak as a whole assembly. But I know you mentioned that we are very heavily dependent as a state on stocks and insurance and investments, and mainly in downstate. Are there any discussions, and I hope there are, about diversifying that revenue? We can't be dependent so much on one industry. And I would hope that in the Assembly and in the Senate that there's talks about how we diversify that.
Well, our economic development activities for the years that I've been in the Assembly has been trying to diversify. And I'm not saying we don't have other industries, we do. Everything from our universities and colleges, which are huge, not only in terms of education, but also in research and startups. There's always new stuff coming up, Judy, always. And we're just hoping that the next Google comes out of one of our SUNY schools, and that'll be a big plus for us. But the bottom line is we're trying to get other companies to move in here. But I think we've learned that we don't want to be in this game where we're a contestant with other states for having companies move in and move out, because that's a constant thing. What we'd rather do is invest, in my estimation, invest in our intellectual properties that we have, and try to have startups that start from scratch here and build them into companies that do well here in New York State and across the country and across the world. And we've seen that happen. So we're by no means putting all the eggs in one basket, but it's so big, Judy. It's so big. The amount of money down there is so much that if anything ever happened there, we would be in big trouble, okay? It's not that we don't want to diversify or have others, and we do have other industries. But the bottom line is that is so big that you have to take that into consideration. That's all. Okay. And by the way, that's a plus. It's not a bad thing. It's a plus. I mean, it's been financing many of the things we've wanted to do for years. The question is, have the people that own those things or own all that wealth, have they been paying enough? That's the issue. Where's the line? And I think there's many of them that don't want to leave New York, you know, that they would stay if we put a little more tax on them or a reasonable tax on them. The question is, what is it? I'm not sure yet. I'm just not, and I'm concerned. But I don't want you to think that that's a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's like, you know, the car industry to the Midwest. I mean, that's where their money and their jobs come from. So I don't want you to think it's all bad. It's also very good. All right. Okay, we're moving on. Number 2, do you support any of the following actions regarding housing and the COVID-19 pandemic? A, do you support canceling rent payments for tenants financially impacted by the pandemic? Overall, yes was 46%, no was 51%. I can give you a little more of a breakdown. Let me see. Okay, so in both towns and the city of Syracuse, the no's were a little bit higher than the yeses. So, you know, the town's a little bit more, but the city also was 49-47. So most people think that we shouldn't be canceling rent payments for tenants. See, I kind of tend to disagree with that a little bit. I think people who are financially strapped because of COVID-19 through no other fault, but you know, they lost their job, they have no money. What do? Throw them out on the street? And if we did throw them out on the street, okay, wouldn't that help infect the rest of us or make COVID spread even more? I mean, the question is, how do we take care of these people during this pandemic? So if it's real, if there is a real financial hardship and it's caused by COVID, okay, then I can see canceling the rent for a period of time. Now, the other questions get to the other parts of this, okay? Do you support having the state compensate landlords who lose rent payments due to the pandemic? Okay, now here, this is kind of funny. The general consensus was 2-to-1, yes, pay the landlords. Okay, and no was 33%. Now that makes sense to me, absolutely. I'm not looking for landlords to do what the state, and the state is us, okay, should be doing during a pandemic. Okay, so yes, the state should compensate landlords for whatever losses they have due to the pandemic, okay? Now, the final one was C, do you support a ban on all evictions for any reason? There was only 18% who said yes, and 80% said no. And I tend to agree with that wholeheartedly. Having been a real estate attorney for many years, I mean, I know that there are a lot of people that own properties that do the right thing by their tenants, and they're really being hurt by this. And I also know there are many tenants that are doing the right thing as trying to pay their rent, trying to do the right thing by their landlords. And, you know, all of that is true. But there's always bad actors. There's bad actors on both sides. There's tenants taking advantage of this. I've heard of tenants who are still working, but not paying their rent. That was never what this was about, never. And, you know, when the bill comes due, they better be able to pay it, okay? Because that wasn't what this was about. This was for public safety. This was for personal safety of the people who were just out in the cold, basically, because of COVID, all right? and it wasn't to hurt landlords. Okay, so anyway, that's the explanation. I see Adam has his hand up again. Go ahead, Adam. Okay, you're going to be unmuted in a second. Hold on. Okay. Okay, go ahead, Adam.
Like, I understand if someone doesn't have money to pay the rent, if they're financially impacted by the COVID, it's not their fault if they lost their job and they did the right thing of the jobs. But if they choose not to pay the rent and they have the money, is their bill going to be pushed forward on the floor? And I'm sure you're going to vote no on it when it comes to the floor, if it does, like you have in other bills. That's
I'm
all I
not gonna, no, I'm not for just canceling the rent for everybody. That's not, I don't feel that that's right, because I represent you, all of you. And you're all working and paying your rent and paying your mortgage payments, and you know, that's not the way it is. But if somebody was hurting because of COVID, I would think that we would step up and help them out during a period of time. That's what I feel like at this point in time. Any other questions on those issues on the rent? Okay, Margaret, I see a hand go up. Margaret, can you get that unmute her? Okay. Hold on, Margaret. We're getting to you. Yes, Margaret, go ahead.
I just wanted to just clarify. I understand we can't cancel rent without reimbursing landlords, and I understand that the government can't pay everyone's rent. But I also have a problem with, you're going to support someone who can't pay their rent because they have COVID, but say someone has cancer and is out of work and cannot pay their rent. I don't quite understand the rationale behind supporting some people who are struggling just because it's COVID. Do you understand what
yes,
I mean?
I do. I do understand it, and it's a very, very good question. Okay, but there is a rationale here. The COVID is spread by people who are out in the public. Okay, by putting people into shelters.
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry.
Talking about canceling evictions. I support canceling evictions or suspending evictions during COVID. But what you're talking about is canceling the actual amounts that are due.
Right.
Those are evictions and rent are different.
Well, we have not canceled the rent. That was just the question.
Right.
What has been passed so far is that you couldn't be evicted.
Right.
That's all. We have not canceled the rent, Margaret. Okay,
Right,
and I tend to agree with you. What we don't want is people to be put out in the street, people to be put into shelters, people to be put into places where it's going to allow for the spread of COVID-19 much faster. And as we all know, once it gets out, it just keeps going and going. So what we're trying to do is keep people home, keep people safe, and that's for the good of everyone, not just that one person. But you're absolutely right. And my question was a question. What has been done to date is simply not to have people evicted if their non-payment of rent was due to COVID. Okay?
I agree with that.
Okay.
Right.
And that's all we've done so far. And I'm not looking to do any more either, unless we're going to pay the landlords and make sure that there's some better reason than that. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Number 3, would you support a new payroll tax to fund universal child care in New York State? And this kind of turned out the way I thought. Yes was 40%, no was 56%. Okay, so more no's than yeses. And I use this time to kind of explain myself sometimes too. Okay, and again, when you look at this, and it doesn't matter where you live, whether it was Van Buren, Geddes, or Syracuse, there were more no's than yeses. Okay, but what was kind of eye-opening to me, if you're under 35, it's the opposite. They would pay. something so that they could have childcare. And the one thing I want to say to people is this. There's a number of things that have changed since I was a little fella, or when I was raising my kids. Well, when I was raising my kids, it had started already. But at one point in time, there were two people, there were two parent families. And in many instances, there was always somebody who stayed home and watched the children and cared for the children. And even if mother and father were out, there was extended family, whether it be grandparents or an aunt or an uncle, somebody who was home. That's not the case anymore. People are spread out. People are working multiple jobs. Mothers and fathers are out. And so the need for childcare, it has gone up exponentially, okay? The cost of good childcare is very expensive. If anybody who has a child that they have to put in childcare knows, you probably could send the child to a year at a SUNY school for the amount of money you pay for childcare. So you can go to college for the amount of money you're paying for childcare. Sometimes it doesn't add up. It doesn't make any sense. The other thing is that a lot of the childcare is just not, I'm not going to say it's bad. I mean, the child is safe and taken care of, but maybe not getting the kind of education or stimulus that the child should have in those early years. And we found by studies that the more stimulus and the more education that's given is basically from when you're born, the better off you are. So my question is this. It makes more sense to me to spend some money on good childcare to relieve parents of the anxieties that they have as far as what am I doing with my kids while we're both working, okay? And at the same time, start educating them as quickly as possible, because it's been proven if they're doing well at early ages, they're going to do well later in life. And that's the head start that we should be giving our children. And what we're saying is, you know, would you be willing to spend a few dollars a week on universal childcare so this could happen? I think it's money well spent. Just something I throw out there. Any questions? I'd love to see hands on this. No hands. Okay, I guess it's 56 to 40 and you're against it. And that's it. Margaret. Okay, I got it, Margaret. All right, number 4. Do you support Governor Cuomo's proposal to legalize recreational cannabis, marijuana, as a revenue enhancer? Neil, was that you who asked me about cannabis? Yeah. Well, the answers that we got was 57% said legalize it, 40% said no. So it seems like this is going to happen, folks. I get letters and emails all the time, and I try to answer all of them. And basically, I'm saying the same thing to all of them, that I have some real concerns about this bill. I'm the chair of the Transportation Committee in the Assembly. I'm very concerned about how we're going to deal with driving while impaired. There is no breathalyzer for marijuana. Marijuana stays in your bloodstream for like 30 days, or at least that's what I'm told. And, you know, there's going to be problems with trying to enforce the laws that say you can't drive while you're impaired. There are ways of doing it. I'm not saying there aren't, but that's going to take time and it's going to take money to get people trained in the right way to do it, so that when they have to go to court and testify, they're going to be able to say these are the things I did and what I did, and these were the outcomes. That's my concern from a transportation standpoint. I'm also concerned where there have been reports now from Colorado as one of them, where accidents and fatalities have gone up on the road since marijuana has been legalized. So it does have an effect. And people who say it doesn't, they're not being realistic, okay? Now, having said all of that, and my little part of this is transportation, okay? Not getting into whether it's good for you, mental health wise, this, that, and the, I'm not even getting into that because that's not my bailiwick. But on the other hand, these things are important. You bring them up, and when I talk to people, anybody who's younger than me, literally, I won't put you in that, David, because you're right with me, okay, buddy? But the thing is, anybody in the next generation, they don't see this as a problem. And so this is going to happen. It's not a question of will it happen? It's just when. Will we pass it next week, this year, next year? But it's going to happen. And what I'm working on right now is trying to make it happen in a way that will protect the safety of the people of the state of New York. And I was on a Zoom meeting with the Association of County Health Departments today, and Dr. Gupta is going to be the president next year of that association. She's our Onondaga County Health Commissioner. And we were talking about this, and and I kept saying, I think, we've got to get out there, we got to get in front of this, we've got to be proactive as far as educating people on what marijuana does and how you can be impaired. So, I think that that's just, more than anything else, we have to let people know what this is all about. Adam, you've got your hand up again, and then I see Diane too. So we're gonna, Adam, go ahead with a quick one, then we'll let Diane go, okay?
My concern about legalizing marijuana is like it stays in the system for 30 days and people are gonna abuse it and stuff. Is it gonna, when is that bill gonna come up to a vote on the floor? Is it gonna pass this year? How would you vote on it if it came up to the floor next week or 2 weeks from now?
I'm not sure I understood what you said, Adam. I'm sorry.
Like, is legalizing marijuana gonna happen this year? I'd rather it not happen.
I hear that you rather it not happen, but it very well could. And
Like,
what the reason for it is what Neil had brought up earlier. There's $400 to $500 million in revenue that's possible from legalizing marijuana. The other thing that's happening is all the states around us are passing it, and Canada already did too. So the thing is, people are bringing it in. We don't, if you're not carrying a lot of it and not trying to sell it, you're not going to get arrested. I think the worst you can get is basically like an infraction ticket. And so we've decriminalized it already. Now the question is, should we regulate it? And that's basically where we are. Diane, you're next.
Thank you. I guess my question is, I'm so concerned about legalizing marijuana along with, we have so many issues already with alcohol and drunken drivers. Yeah, they do get them, they arrest them, but then they all get out of jail anyway. And then they go right back to doing what they were doing before. I'm afraid it's going to be the same type of issue with marijuana. Sure, they're going to get caught. They're going to end up maybe serving a short sentence or whatever, but they're going to be right back out there and they're going to do the same thing all over again. There's got to be a way to stop people from continuing in a destructive manner, which affects everybody else.
Well, I think the only thing I can say about that is that I think our DWI laws have gotten a lot stricter and they're being enforced a lot more and stringently than they were even 20 years ago. People do go to jail. People's licenses are taken away from them. But again, you're absolutely right. There's nothing to stop someone who gets out of jail and has no license to find keys to a car and drive while intoxicated. I mean, that can happen, but that's just pure illegal every step of the way. I don't know how you stop that. It's an illness that needs to be treated. if the person isn't willing to be treated, you know, I don't know. It's a societal problem that I don't have the answer to, Diane. But you're absolutely right. I wish I did. I'd make a lot of money if I had an answer for it, but
I wish you did
it's
have.
not it, you know? So I don't know what to say.
Well, it's the repeat offenders, I guess I worry a lot about too,
Yeah.
because, you know, they just go out and continually, and they get out. I mean, that's the thing, the laws are not strict enough, I guess.
Yeah.
And keeping the repeat offenders off the road.
All right. Okay, who else had their hand up? Okay, I got to go to the next one now. It's okay, we did childcare, we did marijuana. Number 5. Do you support mobile/online sports gambling that would allow consumers to place wagers using their smartphones or tablets as a revenue enhancer for the state? Here we had 46% said yes and 50% said no. So it's kind of like almost 50-50 again, the way I look at that. Neil, this is another one of those where you can grab a lot of money, but as Diane said, you know, you're going to get people who start abusing the whole thing and get themselves into trouble. This is an addiction, just like marijuana or alcohol can be. And it's going to pose some problems for the state going forward. But again, the problem I see is that the states around us are all doing it. And, you know, if you just go across the border here, there, or any place else, especially downstate, where they can get to New Jersey or Connecticut, and they can bet, then, you know, we're losing money that could be taken in. And right now, because of the pandemic and because of where we stand financially, I think these things have legs. If we were in great financial shape without a pandemic, maybe not. But right now, because of it, I think people are listening to it. Neil, your hand is up. Wait until, is he unmuted?
It should be.
No, okay, go ahead, Neil. Nope, you muted yourself.
Okay, yeah, it goes back to, you know, gambling, the marijuana, the alcohol. It's a darned if you do, darned if you don't.
Right.
You know, I mean, yeah.
You're not helping me, Neil.
I know. You know, it's like.
All right, Adam, you're up again. Go ahead.
I definitely support the legalizing of online gambling because that's not really a public safety threat. I definitely support that more. I think it'll make just as much money as legalizing marijuana. But my question is about marijuana. When will the bill come up to the floor, and would you vote yes or no on that bill?
Well, I'll tell you, Adam, I probably would vote yes if it came to the floor now. But I'm worried about what the regulations are going to be and how we're going to make sure that the public is kept safe. And the reason why you know, if I vote no and it comes to the floor, it's going to pass anyway. And, you know, I know that people want to see this happen. There's other things that I haven't even brought up. There's a social justice part of this too. There's many, many people who have been put in jail for long periods of time, and families and everybody have been disrupted. They're looking at this bill as some kind of not a vindication type of thing, but another way that they may be able to get themselves out of poverty by being in that business. And they look at it as an opportunity. So, you know, there's a lot of things that are going on here. There's a lot of moving parts with the marijuana bill. So I find it, you know, it's a troubling bill. It's one that I think very much about. And what I'm more worried about is what the regulations are going to be, how it's going to be distributed, how we're going to enforce the laws that keep people safe. Mary Francis, okay.
Just one point to make. The comptroller has said that in the previous budget, there was not enough money to handle the mental health issues that are caused by alcoholism, drugs, gambling. So I would just ask if we're getting this money, that part of it has to go to handling the back end problems that you're going to see.
I'm already there on that one, Mary Frances. That's what
Okay.
I'm pushing for. I'm saying if we do this, you got to give us enough money to take care of the problems that are created as well. Absolutely. I'm with you 100%. I think Connor,
Yes.
you're next.
I was actually going to say exactly what Mary said. The revenue that would come in from legalizing this kind of gambling, one, people like having things available to them. It could be the difference between someone moving to New York or not. And at the very least, the revenue that comes into it would probably, a lot of it would have to go to, or it would benefit going to the mental health issues that come from it. But I also agree with Adam that it's not a public safety threat. Real quick on the topic of legalizing marijuana, I think but earlier in the discussion, we were talking about how some of these taxes, such as on stock trades, might scare people away from New York. I don't think it can be ignored how much of a surge in population Colorado has experienced from them legalizing marijuana, and just the small business growth. We have so many just abandoned businesses in downtown Syracuse where people just aren't opening businesses anymore. And I think that would, between, the jobs that would come with it, we'd finally be making tax money off of people smoking marijuana, which they're already doing it. They're already driving with it. It's just kind of a missed opportunity at this point. And I think that can't be ignored. But so I'm sorry, I was going to say pretty much exactly what Mary said. I agree with her on that.
Well, I do too. I agreed with Mary. Okay, any other questions? Okay. Well, that's the, oh, I'm sorry, Sarah, go ahead, Sarah.
Hi, real quick. I think Darcy actually put something in the chart or the chat too. What
Oh.
was the estimated revenue
Are
for
you watching the chat?
legalizing online gambling? Do you have an estimate on the revenue from that? Estimated revenue?
Wow. That I don't.
Like relatively speaking, was it like on par with legalizing marijuana? Because you kind of said before that, legalizing marijuana wouldn't give us as much tax money as the stock trading
No,
tax would.
that one I know is big difference. I think they're probably similar.
Okay.
It's hundreds of millions of dollars.
Uh-huh.
I mean, just the betting in the casinos, the game betting, right? Isn't that? I mean, they got to pay like, I don't know. I mean, a lot of money just to be able to do it. So
the bill kind of out there now estimates 79 million in annual revenue.
79 million annual revenue. Estimate.
Okay.
Estimate.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, Adam, one more time. You get a shot at it. Go ahead.
I understand why you would vote yes on a bill, even if you don't agree with it, because it's just going to pass anyway. So,
well, not only that, there's other things involved, Adam, that I would take into consideration. I'm not happy with the bill. It's not something that, that I would put in. I'm not on the bill. I'm not a sponsor of the bill. I wouldn't be a sponsor of the bill, but when push comes to shove, if I have to vote on it, I probably would.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. That's right, Neil. Like that. Well, it's been about an hour and we've gone over the survey. I want to open it up now to, any last questions anybody has that you would like to ask me. Just an open forum, so to speak. Otherwise, Diane, go right ahead. Okay, hold on. We've got to unmute you. And then Steve McMahon is up too. Diane? You got to unmute. Not happening. Okay, well, we'll come back. Steve McMahon. unmute them all.
There we go. Now I'm unmuted.
Okay, go ahead.
Now I lost my train of thought.
Oh.
Oh, I was gonna ask, do you cover other issues like in the town of Van Buren?
No, no, I don't. I mean, the town of Van Buren takes care of its codes and its laws. You know, I try to help the town of Van Buren as much as I can with things that are state matters, so to speak. If it involves the state and the town, then I try to become involved.
Okay, how about the county? Now, the county, my question would be about the bridge over the Canton Street.
Yes, no,
They
I'm
wanna
involved in that.
The county wants to get rid of that, and
Yeah.
I'm very much against it, and I think
I know.
everybody out here is against it.
Yeah.
If you take that away, those people are just gonna have nowhere to go. They're gonna have to go the long way around to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Anybody that wants to use that road is gonna be in trouble.
Well, let me say this, Diane. I have personally gone out there, inspected the bridge. I'm not an engineer, but what I saw is not good. I think if you take a walk down there and take a look at the underpinnings of that bridge, you'll know why it has to be replaced. And boy, sooner rather than later, I would hope. I've also had 2 meetings now with Matt Driscoll, who is the commissioner, the head of the Thruway Authority. That bridge is a Thruway Authority bridge. It goes over the Thruway. And, you know, we've had 2 really good discussions about the bridge. I've also been already in touch with Claude Sykes, your supervisor. I've had letters from the fire department and other entities in the area. So I'm very, very much aware of the situation. And I understand exactly what you're saying. The problem is this, and I don't have an answer yet, okay? If they replace the bridge, okay, there's only one of 2 ways to go. Take it down or rebuild it.
Yeah, rebuild it.
If they rebuild it, the new federal regulations, because that's a federal highway, it's Route 90, okay? It's a US highway. It has to be higher than it is now. It can't, it's got to be lifted up, okay? Because the trucks and everything going under it, and I guess they've had some problems there in the past. So when you raise the bridge and you make it higher, then the road coming up to it has to be built up too. And now it's going to affect the people that live in that area. I don't know to what degree, but what Matt said, and Matt and I are friends. He was the mayor of Syracuse. I've known him for many, many years. We talked over 2 cups of coffee, okay? But, you know, he said, I'm concerned about this. The engineering is not 100% complete. I think the last time I left it that we were going to try to get back together again and meet with the supervisor to see, you know, where do we go from here? What does everybody think is the best way? It's never an easy answer, Diane. There's always something. It's not like you can just put it back in the same place the same way. Now all of a sudden it's got to go a couple of feet higher, and the whole roadway leading to it has to be changed. So that's problematic.
I know, it's like we're damned if we do and damned if we don't.
Okay. Darcy,
thank you.
Pointed out that the Thruway Authority wants to take it down, not the county.
yes. Darcy just mentioned, Darcy, you unmute yourself. You're on, Darcy.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't get my hand up. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that for Diane. It's not Onondaga County that wants to take the bridge down. It's the Thruway Authority.
Yes, but Darcy,
thank you.
There's only, yes, that's absolutely true. It's the Thruway Authority. They own the bridge. That's what I said. I never mentioned the county at all.
No,
I did.
Okay, no, it's not a county issue. It's a Thruway issue.
Diane did.
absolutely.
I just wanted to clarify for Diane that
Right,
I just, because the county is behind retaining the bridge.
No,
Well,
I'm sorry,
county-
I was
Okay.
wrong and I agree with you.
All right. Well, we're still working on it and trying to work it out. You know, if we can, we're going to do it. I'd love to see the bridge stay. Myself, that's what I've been fighting for with the supervisor.
My
Okay.
question,
Yeah, go
Assemblyman,
ahead, Darcy.
I just wondered when will the Thruway Authority make that decision?
Your guess is as good as mine,
Well, I mean, so
which
how-
isn't very good right now. I have no idea. And I talked to Matt either the end of December, early January on this. So it's been well over a month. And I have not heard back yet. But this is, I'm in the middle of the budget and everything else, but I think we'll give Matt a call tomorrow and see what's going on.
I may have missed it. Do they have an estimate on what it would cost to reconstruct?
No, not that I've seen. No.
Okay,
no.
thank you.
No, but, I'm sorry. I'm listening to too many people. Hold on. I have not seen an estimate. All I know is that Matt says it's going to cost a ton of money to build a new bridge there. And, like everybody else, he's saying, I don't have the money. It's like the county, when I talk to them, I don't have the money, or the town, I don't have the money, or the state, I don't have the money. I mean, nobody has the money. So we're going to have to take a good look at this. Another thing that's coming through, and the problem with this bridge is because it's a throughway bridge and not a county bridge or a state bridge, if we get federal stimulus money, I don't know if we can use it on that bridge because it's supposed to be maintained by the tolls. It's like charter, that's its being. And so they've got to work within the monies that they take in. And I'm not even sure if we got them a big grant from the federal government or the state government, if it would help in that situation. Those are the types of things that I'm looking into right now. Okay, Darcy? Okay. All right, Neil? Steve? Steve is next. I'm sorry, Steve McMahon.
Yeah, thank you. This is a follow-up to a contact that I made to your office earlier. And Dan, Patrick, I want to congratulate you guys. You got back within 24 hours, but this concerns the underreporting of the nursing home deaths due to COVID-19. And, the governor's been the focus of the scandal, but his top aide, Melissa DeRosa, I think is equally culpable. And, she comes from a family that has a lobbying firm, Bolton St. John's. It's the largest lobbying firm in New York State, over 200 clients and $12 million. They've spent $400,000 on New York State political campaigns over the past 20 years. And I'm not saying that's how she got her job, but she's risen to a point where she's the #2 person in the executive chamber after the governor, and she's making big decisions. And she's a very young person with very little experience. She happens to make more than the governor in salary right now. And, it's clear from the transcript that we got where she spoke to the legislature that she lied about the nursing home deaths and that she tried to cover it up. And these are real people that died. And this is very personal for me. I have a 90-year-old mother who lives in a retirement community. I can't imagine what some of the people in New York State are going through right now, knowing that, the circumstances surrounding the deaths of their loved ones were covered up and lied about. And this is a very politically connected family that's been under investigation by the district attorney in the Southern District of New York. And so Giorgio DeRosa, her father, his partners, they created a PAC called Bolt PAC. They use it to channel money to campaigns in New York State, over $500,000 in the past 20 years.
Steve, I get it. If you have a question in there for me, ask me the question.
Sure. I said I'd make a brief statement and it was going to be short.
Okay.
This is, I think, the epitome of corruption in New York State. What are we going to do about people like the DeRosa family, Melissa DeRosa, and Bolt PAC when they do things like this? Are you going to hold her accountable? Are your peers in the Assembly and the Senate going to hold this person accountable for what she has done? Thank you.
Okay. Well, first of all, that's your interpretation of what has happened. And other people have refuted it, or at least said that they didn't see it the same way. Here's how I feel though. There are investigations that are being had as we speak. Anybody who is found to have done something wrong has to pay the price, no matter who it is, okay? So that's how I feel, but I'm waiting. You know, my background is as a lawyer. You can make all the accusations you want. I'm not talking about you personally, Steve, but I mean, one can make all the accusations they want on anything. But until it's proven, until a court or, you know, somebody, the Attorney General or the federal prosecutors come up with, this is what happened and this is the evidence that we have, then I don't feel that we should be rushing to judgment on everything. The other thing, I just have to take something that bothers me because it's a little bit personal, okay, to me. I have a child who ran for office, and you know, me and my family were accused of helping her do that. And to me, it was a slap in the face of my daughter, who's a 40-year-old attorney who graduated with honors, not only from college, but from law school, and then got a master's on top of the law degree from the Maxwell School as well. And in her own right, she got where she got. And so I find it a little difficult to blame the fathers or the families. If she did something wrong, then she should be held accountable. But let's find out if she did something wrong. And please, don't bring in family and fathers and friends and everything else, because that to me does not mean that this woman did anything wrong. I want to know what the investigations come up with, what they find, and then let's deal with it. Let's deal with that. Right now, let me tell you, this is a politically charged problem. That's what it is. It's you know, the governor who won an Emmy Award for his performance for the rest of the year, okay, is now under fire, and people, especially in the opposition party, are using everything they can to bring him down. Now, if he did something wrong, he too should be held accountable. But let's wait and see what the investigations find out before we jump to judgment. That's all I'm saying. That's where I am. Okay? Neil, you're next.
Okay, I guess my question is going to be a little anticlimactic for tonight, but are you going to be thinking about sponsoring one of those electronic return program events this year?
November, I'm told by my staffer right here. If you can hold out until November, the answer is yes.
Okay.
I'm glad to get that one on a high note, okay? Anything else? Yeah, we're going to do it again. Those we have great turnouts for that, and I'm happy to do it.
Okay, beautiful.
Okay. Margaret, go ahead. Margaret, you're going to be unmuted. Okay.
Okay, so I just noticed on this year's survey, I see you didn't ask constituents about their thoughts on Medicare for All, the New York Health Act for New York State. And I find this year especially, so many people lost their employer-based insurance. I would think that it's on the top of a lot of people's minds how they're going to continue to have health insurance. And also for those of us who are lucky enough, I work in healthcare, to have been working through this, pay our increasing premiums, but also property taxes, which are providing the huge safety net that Medicaid has become. You know, this is, I think, really unsustainable for our state to continue to have a system of private insurance that's subsidizing everyone else who can't afford to have insurance and is therefore on Medicaid. And this year especially, that's a huge percentage of people. So do you, we count on you to support the New York Health Act and help people understand that it actually costs the state much less to have a single payer public plan than the current system.
Yeah, well, if you look at the act and you go back, I think maybe almost 20 years, no, not 20, 15 years ago, I've been a co-sponsor of that bill with Dick Godfrey for a long period of time. So I am definitely in favor of it. I do believe that Dick has to revise it a little bit. There are some things that need to be changed. But again, the basic premise of the act that everybody should be covered and that there should be a single payer, I think is a good idea.
Yeah, I know you think it's a good idea, but it's a matter of dispelling the myth that is being perpetuated by very, very well-funded opposition groups that I know you are very, that it costs so much more than the current system.
Right.
It's important that you explain that to your constituents when you have a chance, and make sure they realize the system we have now is extremely expensive for all of us. And I think that there's a huge misinformation campaign being funded by very, well-funded.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And I need people like you to keep talking about it with your friends and family.
Oh, I do.
Because I've been out that good. I mean, all I can do is say, go for it, lady, go for it. That's what we need. We need people to understand that, yeah, there might be more in taxes or something that you have to pay. But this has been in even all the presidential debates, for crying out loud. But the bottom line is you're not paying deductibles. You're not paying a lot of other things that we can do. I'm sorry.
$20,000 is the for family health plan in your area where your constituents.
$20,000. Yeah.
$20,000 a year.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
you're speaking to the choir. We got to get it out to everybody else. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. We'll do the best we can. Yes. Anybody else? I don't see any hands. Am I missing anybody? Nope. Well, look, I want to thank you all. At least we're not walking out. Well, hopefully none of you are walking out into the cold and snowy night. Unless it's pretty warm out there right now anyway. So I'm happy to see that. Thank you all for being here tonight and for taking part. I really do appreciate it. And again, if you have any questions or concerns, please call my office, email my office, send me a letter, and we'll try to get back to you. I do have a really, really good staff, and they're all here tonight, so I can't say that too loudly, okay? But they are very good. Do you have a question, Diane? Diane. Okay. She's working on it. Diane? One more time.
There we
There
go.
she goes.
I got
Okay.
it. Okay.
All right.
I just want to say, you do have a great office staff.
Thank you.
They did a fantastic job and something for me. I lost my driver's license. Couldn't get it back in a hurry. It took over 6 to 8 weeks and I still hadn't gotten it. And your office was wonderful. They stepped right in and they managed to get it all taken care of for me. And I was thrilled to pieces. Thank you very much. You have a great staff.
I'm happy to hear that. And I can't say that too loudly tonight, though, but they are a great staff. They really are a great staff. And
they are.
I'm lucky to have them all. So thank you very much for saying that. And look at everybody. Have a great evening and a beautiful weekend, and take care of yourself. Stay safe. Okay. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.